Hi everyone, in this video we're going to show you how do you add another service known as DHCP. For example, in this server, if you can see, there are only two roles being added. One is called ADDS and one is DNS, and the kind of IP addressing which is there is static IP addressing. If you can see, we given a static IP address to the server, which is fine, but now all the other client which is joined to this server, all the clients, say for example in this virtual box we just have created only one client, but for example if you have many clients and all the clients are connected to the server, you can give this IP address to all the client two-way. One is called static IP address and one is dynamic IP address. So now if I come to this client, now this client have a static IP address. Now how would you see that this client is having a static IP address? You can go to this network sign, right click, say open network and sharing center, go to change adapter setting, and then on this icon right click it, say properties. Now is asking my password because I have been joined already to domain, so I'm going to give an administrator, okay, and password whatever you have it. Okay, so once you come up here and if you go in IP version 4 and if you say properties, you can see that I have given a static IP address which is 1.100. okay, and then this is the gateway, meaning is an address of the main server, and this is the address of the DNS. Since DNS is loaded in the same server, so the IP address is same. So now what I want is, now just imagine if in a company, if you have 200 300 computers, it's not possible to give all this static IP addressing by yourself, and in case if anything, say if any computer get damaged or is go for repair, and again if any new computer comes up, you have to again give manual IP address, and if by chance if you forget what was the previous IP address, then and if you give a wrong IP address, that might conflict with some other IP address. So that's why it's better for large organization to have a dynamic IP address, meaning that this IP addressing will be obtained by the server. From the server is going to give IP address to all these clients. So let's make it obtain an IP address automatically, obtain a DNS address automatically, and say okay, say close it. But right now if you go in CMD and if you say for example IP config, and you see that there is no IP address, okay, now you see that you say, but you can say like okay, they already got an address 169.254. now any address 169.254 meaning that this computer is not being configured with any static IP address, and even the client computer has failed to get a dynamic IP address from the server. Now why they failed up? Because if you can see, there is no DHCP running. To have a dynamic IP address, you need to have a service called DHCP, which I'm going to show you of how to install it. So if the client computer doesn't have any static IP address, and if they fail to get a dynamic address from the server, then these client IP address mean the client will get an IP address from the operating system itself, and normally any address with 169 meaning they got the IP address from the operating system, and this method of IP addressing is known as APIPA. That's called automatic private addressing, a sort of automatic private addressing. Okay, so what we're going to do is here is we leave it for a while. Let's come to your server and we add another roles here. So go in server roles and we're going to install a service called DHCP. Okay, and you can read what is all about. So with this service we can allocate dynamic IP address to all the client without having to worry and going to each computer and assigning an IP address. We don't have to do it, so computer will do it itself. So go to next, okay, and leave it as it is. You don't need to do anything else here. So they're just asking you the domain name, so just check whether it's fine or wrong. If it's fine, it's fine. Okay, check your DNS IP address. So mostly these two will be fine, but if it's different, you can check and you can change it. But I think it's fine. You don't need to do anything here. Go to next. Now they're asking you, do you wins is not do you require wins, or do you require, you don't require wins, or you do require wins. Now wins is only required if you need to provide dynamic IP address to old systems or legacy systems like Windows XP, Windows 95, or something like old systems. Now in your company, sometime you do have systems which is quite old. So if you want to bind those old client with this one, then you need required to get wins. But right now we don't have it, so we say wins is not required. Go for next. Okay, and now they are telling you need to define a scope. Scope is all about, scope meaning like you give a range, and from that range they will be allocating IP address to all this client. Okay, so let's, sorry, wait, when it was, yeah, so go for next and you say add. So they're asking you what is the scope name. So say for example is my scope, or say like for example you're defining for admin, and say starting IP address I want to give 192.168.1 dot, say from 1, okay, and end address 192.168.1 dot, say I'm giving a range till 100. So I want any address from 1 to 100, this server can give it to the client. So you can increase the range up to whatever. I won't take 254 because 254 is being allocated to the server. So make sure you don't give the server IP address here. I mean, don't include those address. And 253 is also used, like, or like my sake, I'm taking it till 100, or make it till 150. And when you click here, subnet mask. Now since this is class C, so my subnet mask will be 255.255.255.0, and default gateway, meaning if this address is going to go to this client, do you want them to identify that what will be the gateway for these client? Yes. Now for these client, the gateway will be this main server. So you give the address 192.168.1.254, meaning whatever is the IP address of this server. If I show you here, if I go to initial configuration window, okay, it's not coming up, but like, meaning I already showed you that this computer, this server IP address is 1.254. So which will be a gateway for these client. So you need to write that gateway for these one should be 254. Now normally how it works, they will issue an IP address to the client, okay, and after a certain period of time, okay, the client need to inform back the server that I'm still in immune use and I want to renew my this IP address. So this is what they said, how long you want this to be leased. So if you want for 6 days, for 8 hours, whichever you want it. So mostly for wired, by default is 6 days. So you can click on that and say okay. So once you have done it, say next. And now they're asking you, do you want DHCP for version 6? Say no, I don't want it. We are just going to do for version 4. Say next. And they said use credential. Credit credential mean they will be authorizing with whose ID, so administrator. So leave it like that. So go to next and just say the word install. That's it. So once this has been installed, we're going to show you that since this client is already joined to this domain, so the client will be getting automatic IP address from the server itself, because we have defined the scope in this. So once it finishes, we're going to explain you what need to be done further. Yeah, so that's done. So you can see now ADDS, DHCP is being added apart from DNS and ADDS. Right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to server manager, this one, and you need to go and expand the roles so you can see this DHCP server here. So we can work from here, or what I can do is we can also go specifically to start administrative tools, and you can go specifically to DHCP in order. So expand this one, you see IPv version 4, and you see this is green in color. If this is not green in color, right click on it, and you need to activate it. So most probably you see this should be okay, let me see from here. Scope, right click on the scope. Yeah, oh sorry, on the scope. If you come on the scope and say right click, so you need to activate here. It's already activated, so I'll show you. If you deactivate, it will change into this one, like green, red in color. So if you see red in color, right click on it and say activate. So you see like this activation has come up, and you see that in this address pool, the address pool you have defined from 1 to 100. Okay, it shows you that from, see, the moment you created it, they're also showing you that from 1 to 100, the IP address 192.168.1.1, the first one has been leased to a client already at this date, at this time. Okay, so let's see, go and see if your client has got this one. So we showed you that, see, that initially they didn't had it. Now if I just again, if I issue a command called ipconfig, and let's see what IP address they got. So you see, there you go, they shows you that they have joined to the domain stp.com and they got an IP address from here, which shows that DHCP is working. So they got the IP address from there directly. So this is how you install DHCP services, and it helps you to allocate IP addresses automatically to the client. Okay, so that's it from this video. Thank you for watching this video.